Hi, I'm James Ernest of the Grueling Truth Radio Network. With me today is Master Illusionist Dan Sperry. He's part of the Illusionist Broadway show. Dan, tell us what you've been up to.
Well, right now, like you mentioned, I'm touring across America with the show called The Illusionist, which is the number one biggest best-selling magic show in the world, really. This is the third part of our first time coming to America, basically. We've toured all over the world with it, like all over Europe and Mexico, South America, Africa, dipped into Asia. We've been pretty much everywhere except the States. So a couple years ago, we kicked off Broadway. There's a tour with Broadway. We did Broadway twice, broke all the records there, which was kind of cool because we're not really a musical, right? So, you got Phantom of the Opera down the street, and we were selling more tickets than Phantom of the Opera, which was kind of neat, and a nice surprise, too, because sometimes you get those theater snobs, and you never know what they're gonna think about you. But so far, everywhere we've been, the response has been really great and positive, and we're just staying on the road. So this is pretty much what I've been doing nonstop for the past 3 years. We get couple months off and maybe a week off here or there, and that's when I go and do my own solo stuff. Mm-hmm. But pretty much nonstop Illusionist happening.
So it sounds like one heck of a hectic schedule, but it sounds like you also love it. I mean, even with your downtime, you're doing other shows, right? You were saying?
Oh yeah. I can't really sit still. I get stir crazy. I like being on the road. A lot of people, I think sometimes the assumption is would you ever want your own show in Vegas or something like that? And I'm like, nope, no, thank you. I don't want to sit down anywhere. I want to, at least for now, anyways. It might change when I get a little older, but for now, I'm totally happy with
the tour
being a road warrior.
Nice, yeah, because I was looking at your bio, and it showed you had been in Vegas for 9 years straight at one point. Was that?
I was in. I've had a house in Vegas. I've been back and forth on the road, but for quite a few years, I was in different shows in Vegas, and opening acts for different people in town there, and all that. But then once a couple years ago, when the economy sort of changed there, and shows started kind of cutting back, and some of them even closed. Some shows on Broadway even closed for a bit there too. That's when I went back on the road and then been on the road ever since.
Excellent. So I know these are two dramatically different places, but Minnesota versus Vegas, what's the likes, what's the dislikes, what's the,
Oh man, I only moved to Vegas because I got offered a job. I would have never moved to Vegas otherwise. It's just not my scene. It's just fake. It's everything is just artificial. Not quite as bad as LA, because LA is pretty bad. Fake in a different way, though. Mm-hmm. But I'm more, we were talking about quick, before we really got started. I'm in Chicago right now, and I lived here for quite a few years. I lived in Manhattan for a few years, and I like real cities and real people and real everything. More so than Vegas. If you want to get, sometimes in Vegas, if you want to get a slice of pizza, a New York slice of pizza or whatever, or a Chicago slice of pizza, you got to go to some, I don't know, Gordon Ramsay restaurant or something like that in a casino. You know what I mean? Granted, there are some really good, local mom and pop places in Vegas, but at the same time, not quite the same as the corner deli or the whatever, that's been there for generations, and all that stuff. You don't really get that there. You don't get that dirty, grimy reality that you find in a lot of other more urban metropolitan places, I suppose.
I know what you mean. It just has that overly corporate feel to it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So with that, and being that you traveled and lived in all those different cities, and you're a hockey fan, who is your team?
Oh, my team's got to be the Wild. However, talking about Vegas though, we got the Vegas Golden Knights now coming, so that's interesting. But I ended up getting season tickets to that. I'll make it and start up next season. I'll be there every chance I can get.
Nice. Nice. Do you know what level they're playing on?
What level? You mean, no, they're like an NHL team. They're the real team. It's the first pro Vegas team of any sport in Vegas, actually.
Oh,
so
wow. Yeah.
It's really weird. It's a desert, and they went with hockey.
Yeah.
Really weird, right? But, yeah.
Yeah, because I know they had that...
real deal NHL.
Yeah, because I know they had a really nice, I want to say ECHL or AHL.
Yeah, they had
Bandits or something?
God, why is it... Nah, they were the... Yeah, why is this slipping my mind now? I've been to a couple of their games there. Dude, come on now. I don't know. I'm having a brain fart. I had to get up at like 5 a.m. this morning and do a TV thing, so I'm a little out of it. But
no worries.
Yeah, no, they did have. God, it's right there. Oh well, in about 10 minutes, I'll just spit it out loud like a Tourette's moment, and we'll just keep moving.
Cool.
Just ignore it.
It happens, but yeah, they've had success there before. Because I remember our local team in Cincinnati playing them in the finals of I want to say ECHL. I think that's what it was, or it wasn't NHL.
Or AHL, something like that.
Yeah, one of those type of levels. So that's good to hear they got a pro team coming. Unfortunately, that's tells you this state of hockey, though, is that, everybody's talking about Oakland going to Vegas, or they're talking about the other teams going to LA, but unfortunately I hadn't heard much about the NHL. Is it just the one team they're expanding, or do you know if they're expanding other teams?
No, right now that's just the main one.
Cool.
As far as I know.
And you're right, that'll be a really nice feature to have out there in Vegas. Being the first team, but you're right, it is kind of odd with the whole desert thing. So you said you're already a season ticket holder?
Yeah, I bought 3 years worth of season tickets just because, if I'm there, it's I'm gonna want to watch it, for sure. And then if I'm on the road, which is usually like what I was saying, what happens, I can at least maybe sell the seats, like you do when you get that stuff going. So win.
Exactly. And shoot, I gotta commend you for your honesty, because most celebrities usually do that, hey, come on, just let me in thing, but you're going ahead and you're buying the tickets ahead of time. That's great.
Oh yeah, and it's a new stadium. It's this new arena that got built in Vegas, T-Mobile Arena that we got. So they're doing all sorts of concerts and stuff there and all that. So yeah,
nice. Yeah,
gotta put the money back in the town.
Exactly.
As artificial as it is, not like they need it.
Yeah, it don't hurt to reinvest, but you're right. Yeah, Vegas definitely ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
So you come from two very educated parents with. Was it the father that does Egypt and the mother does Native American?
Yeah, it was kind of, like a heavy-duty hobby, enthusiasm on both parties. My mom was in advertising as her job, but she studied and did a lot with, in Minnesota, the Native American, heritage and culture is pretty heavy up there, on those northern plains and stuff. And so she was involved in that, and I remember like going to talks and seminars and stuff as a kid. She'd take me, and then my dad was actually studying to be an archaeologist. He eventually he didn't complete it because he eventually realized there wasn't a whole lot of financial stability maybe in that, but he still pursued like biblical archaeology and as a serious hobby. Like we had things in our house that like he's gone on digs. Like we had things in the house that went on shelves and things like that he had actually got on different digs he had been to, like in Egypt and places around there.
Wow. Did either of those two play any influence with your ancient alien beliefs?
A little bit. I mean, a little bit to a degree. I mean, because I remember more specifically with my dad. He'd have books out that he'd be reading, and he had a couple kids books, I guess you could say, that were to like kind of help educate kids about it. And I remember looking at the sort of drawings of like the pyramids, right? And seeing like the different shafts and stuff, and just kind of being like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. If this was a place of where the pharaoh was supposed to be buried or something. Why not just make a door? Why is it such a weird shaft that goes down here and up there, and a subterranean, another chamber down. I mean, granted, they did a lot of weird stuff back then. Mm-hmm. And I remember, asking, like, well, these bricks are huge, like his dad had seen it, and I remember being like, yeah, I saw it, I was in there, and being like, those bricks are huge. Like, how did they get, how'd they get them on the trees to roll them there? If that's really how it was, because you see, like, the interpretive illustrations, like, even if you were to see, like, the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, all these, like, thousands and thousands of workers, pulling these blocks on tree trunks or something, and I remember being like, where'd the tree trunks come from? Like, it's a desert. Where do you get all those tree trunks and stuff? And I was just in innocent curiosity, just being like, I don't get it, and then as just kind of having that innocent curiosity as I got older, understanding that, maybe there's some other theories about how the blocks were moved, and, some of them a little bit more maybe paranormal than others, and that ended up also coming to from the school that I went to made you have to take a minimum of 2 years of a foreign language, and I started studying German, and because of all the curious beliefs and things that the Germans were into, not saying they're really and not necessarily all the killing and really evil things that they did, but like stuff like the Foo Fighters, because I was into music, and then hearing like at the same time, well, the Foo Fighters band is based off of the orbs that the pilots claimed that they had to battle and see, and they called them the German Foo Fighters, and that was a thing. And then looking into that more, and studying more about that historical aspect and how they would go and seek out relics, and just also then tying back in with my dad being at one point studying archaeology and still a serious enthusiast and hobbyist in archaeology. I got introduced to Indiana Jones movies, mm-hmm. and learning about how that's actually based on the Nazis actually were doing that. They were in Egypt, and they were in all these places, Tibet and all this stuff, looking for relics that supposedly held power behind them, and sort of destiny, and discovering that all this stuff is something that actually might have happened, and could have been legit and real, and it became fascinating,
Exactly, like the whole spear from the Bible, and then from the
crucifixion.
Yeah. Wow, well, that's interesting. So you've probably seen all the different documentaries on it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, what eventually I got really into was also just all the mystery of of the Antarctic, because too, like learning about when Nuremberg trials happened, and then paperclip and all this stuff, all the missing scientists, it was X amount went to America, X amount went to Russia, but then all these U-boats are missing, all these, other scientists and sort of heads and diplomats, whatever, they kind of went missing, and either, they're presumed dead, or maybe the Allies captured them and they didn't really make a big deal of it, they didn't want to, whatever, or maybe they escaped and something's going on down there, like with the whole, Admiral Byrd, battles and stuff like that, and explorations and encountering, interesting people down there, and the opening, and all that Hall of Earth even type stuff,
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there are a lot of interesting things out there that you can read and find that it might not always be what they say it is. I know what you mean there.
Yeah.
So, why do I want to be a zombie?
Why do you want to be a zombie?
Yeah, why do I want to be a zombie or drink zombie juice?
Oh, my zombie Java. Oh, my coffee brand. Yeah. That's just something that I got into when I was on tour down in South America. We were in Colombia, actually, and I've been just a coffee fiend since I was a kid, and stuff. And I was just thinking of like, I need a retirement plan or something like that. I'm not old enough to be looking into retirement, but with magic, like, what if, God forbid, I get my hand slammed in an Uber door or something? I don't know. And I can't necessarily work, so much or something like that. And I gotta have a backup plan. And so, I'd known of, like, different, guys, Maynard from Tool and stuff had his own wine.
Mm-hmm.
And, different artists and, people, celebrities, performers, whatever, sometimes have little side projects, and that was something that I thought would be a fun brand expansion, and it's something I'm into, a nice, enthusiastic sort of side business, side project. So I was looking into different beans and stuff down in Colombia when we were there and trying different, kinds of, coffee and such. And then I've been to Hawaii too, and, to Kona, and seen like all the old coffee fields up there and toured around that. And it was something that I wanted to, pursue and get into. And through a guy that owned a couple diners in Manhattan, and I knew this guy. He hooked me up with a friend of his that happened to be the oldest. He's the owner of the oldest coffee importer family, the oldest coffee importer business in America, and it's like this third generation family thing. And so I went and met with them at their warehouse in Brooklyn, and they're kind of like he's kind of like the Willy Wonka of coffee, right? So he does the deal, for these, companies that, want to buy the beans from him. So he handles all the, the import and all that stuff. So don't have to worry about that. And he actually also flavors it and roasts the beans. They do it all manually there. It's actually really cool. It's not like some big, computerized conglomerate. It's legit these guys, dumping them and roasting them. So I would go and meet with them, and I told them how I wanted it to taste. It was really weird. It's almost like a wine tasting, I suppose. I've never been on a wine tasting, but I assume it's kind of the same thing, or like a beer, tasting when people are brewing different beers and stuff. It's like, hey, all right, so this is kind of how this one tastes. I'd say I want a little bit, this one's too light. I want a little bit more bitter. Can we make it like this? And then finding the right level, and flavor combinations, because they can, drop the flavors in. So if I wanted, one of the first flavors I came out with when I first launched it was, I wanted it to be like pecan pie, because I was launched it right after Thanksgiving, mm-hmm. right around Thanksgiving. So I wanted something that was kind of, Thanksgiving-y, I suppose. With Christmas coming, I mean, pecan pie was something we always had at my house, as part of the dessert spread, and around holidays and stuff like that. So, they figured out a way to do like this cinnamon pecan pie that tastes just like pecan pie, and I was like, nice, done, and then the first regular one I came out with, just the original blend, is kind of like a nice solid diner coffee, which is what I wanted, just like, down and dirty, real cup of coffee, we're not getting too bourgeois with it, so yeah, and then as that, expanded, and it really all came about via social media too, which is what's kind of crazy with how stuff is now. I've never taken out a physical ad in anything. It's all done through social media and sharing on the internet, and people buy it from all over the world, and I ship it out. I package it up and then ship it out to all over the place, and it's been a nice side business.
Sounds great. I mean, like you were saying about how it's a family business, the third generation, how they're involved, but it's not just something that you're putting your name on and throwing out there. You actually do care about the flavors of the coffee. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, I totally drink it. Like it's not like something. Yeah, this isn't like some sort of like thing that's coming from China or whatever, or I don't know, anywhere else where like it's just mass produced and what have you. Like I went to the warehouse, toured it. I've been there a couple times and checked things out and all that. It's legit.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear. So, how do they go about ordering some of the Zombie Java?
It's on the Zombie Java website, which is just zombie-java.com.
Excellent. Let's see.
Yeah, and of course it's all on like the, it's got its own Instagram and, like I said, all the social stuff.
Mm-hmm. So with with being on Broadway there for a while, were there any talks of you becoming Peter Pan?
No, but that what was it? I think it's Finding Neverland or Chasing That, whatever. There's that Broadway tour of the show. I never caught it though because they were there at the same time we were, and it always lines up where everybody's doing shows at night. You can't go see anything else. There was, I think, Book of Mormon was there too. All these other shows, and you can't. That is the hard part though. Is kind of frustrating at times. Is you want to go see some stuff. When you're on the road, even on Broadway. I've never seen Book of Mormon. But I've been a South Park fan since I was a kid when it came out, and still haven't been able to see it. Some of the stuff you hear about, and then. A couple weeks ago we were in Portland, and there was a band I wanted to go see, but it's like, they're going on at the, some of these bands are on tour and stuff, and you're like, man, I'd totally go see that show. They're in town at the same time, but then you can't go see it, because you got to go to work too. You got to clock in, but yeah.
I know what you mean. I was going to say I work with a lot of MMA, wrestling, boxers, that kind of thing. And, of course, all their fights are usually Friday, Saturday night. And that's usually when a couple of the venues I work with that do concerts, same thing. And they're like, I want to go to the show, but, I got a match that night, that kind of thing.
Right, yeah. So, you can't roll up with a bunch of gauze in your mouth. Like, step out of the ring and jump in your car, in the town car and hit up the concert. They probably would look at you cross-eyed if you showed up looking like that.
Exactly. So, though, if down the road you did have an opportunity to play Rufio in... No, Rufio's all right. I'd be down to be Rufio. Yeah, he was cool. That's a cool band, too, by the way. Right? I remember there's a band called Rufio I used to listen to. But, cool.
Yeah. They did, I saw they did, like, a whole, like... The cast, they do a lot of these cast reunion, videos you see sometimes. They did the one of Hook, actually. I saw just a few months ago, I think, or something like that. Or maybe it was an old video, but it had come across a newsfeed of mine inadvertently, and it's kind of crazy.
I know what you mean. Yeah, shoot, for the longest time, I kept getting Jack and Jake confused, because Jack being the son in Hook, and then my son loves that new Jake and the Neverland Pirates. And I was thinking, I was thinking they were the same character. I was like, that is so cool that they took the one character.
Right, tie-in and stuff.
Yeah, and then one day I realized it, and I'm like, wait, no, that's a slightly different name. Because I kept thinking it was, the same one. But that would have been cool if they did that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea, actually. You got to bring that back.
Definitely. And then bringing up Peter Pan and all, in your show, do you do any flying?
No, I do not. I definitely do not, but I don't know. I put a coin in my eye at one point. Like I borrow a coin and I stick it in my eye and make it disappear into my eye socket. So that's kind of like a pirate thing. It could be like a
that works.
Pseudo patch. Yeah, something like that.
Cool.
But it's about as swashbuckling as I get. Well, sometimes too, I wear a bandana if I don't feel like doing my hair. Mm-hmm. I'll wear a bandana on stage, or if I need to dye it and my roots look disastrous, I'll wear a bandana. But I'm not hiding any balding. I'm not doing any Bret Michaels thing, but it's just, so if you ever see me with a bandana, I'm usually either about to dye my hair or I just didn't feel like doing my hair that day.
Exactly, it happens sometimes.
That's the lazy hair day. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let's see, you are compared with Copperfield and Manson. Do you feel that those are accurate comparisons?
Yeah. No, but, that's just a media thing that they, sometimes, it was Fox that actually said that originally, and then it just kind of took off. I think it's just a convenient pop culture type reference, I think. Like, if it was, whatever, 20 years ago, it'd probably be Doug Henning and Alice Cooper or something,
Exactly.
So it's just a convenient reference, but I'm not as good as Copperfield, and I don't burn Bibles in my show either, so no, maybe it's not quite an accurate representation, but whatever. Definitely. Whatever works. Not mad about it. I've been called worse, that's for sure.
It happens. So what's it like working one of those private shows, like a birthday party? I heard you did one for Johnny Depp.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, you get, you end up getting these gigs for like these celebrities and stuff, and some of them are cool, some of them are weird. I mean, the Johnny Depp one, that was cool. It was, didn't get to meet him, but because it was requested, it's his kid's party, don't make it, you don't want to be running up and being like, hey, can I get a photo and an autograph? You got to keep it professional, which is fine, but then there's one I did for some prince from, like, I don't know, Saudi Arabia or something. It was in Beverly Hills, and that was weird because it's one of those, like, so much money, like, why? Why do we need this? Like, there was it was in a giant ballroom at the Beverly Hills Hilton, and there was, like, a giant trampoline in the middle of the ballroom with, like, acrobats that were doing stuff, this band, the Michael Jackson impersonator, and then, like, 4 guys, because, like, the prince, but then, like, it's one of those things where it's like, well, everybody over there's some sort of prince, 6 degrees of separation makes you a prince practically. So, like, it was like, we don't know who this guy is, and, but he couldn't, so he didn't really have any friends because he's not really from here. He just wanted a birthday party in Beverly Hills, so he had, like, 4 dudes with him, and they had to hire, I don't want to say that they were prostitutes, because I doubt that they were, but, like, they had to hire,
escorts.
Like, 200, escorts, sure. There were, like, 200 girls in there, like, just sitting around, like, bored out of their minds. And you had to, because there were no real guests. It was really weird. There were no real guests. And then they had to turn over their cell phones and their IDs when they got there. And I was like, oh, dude, there's some, like, weird eyes wide shut things about to go down in here. This is weird. And then, like, so I had to do this show, and the dude just, like, never really clapped or looked like he really cared, and as the show went on, the other acts were doing their stuff, and he was just couldn't care less. And I was like, dude, this is a lot of money to waste for nothing. I mean, you could have just watched some YouTube at home and got the same thing. Effect. Yeah, it's so weird. And he had security, like, everywhere, like every door exit was covered, bodyguards and what have you, private security, and it was just like, this is so. It was just weird. And in the green room, they had the green room set up for us performers, and they were like, yeah, we'll have, a spread for you guys so you guys can eat, because we had to be there, so long for, like, the party, coordinator had to, tech everything. And we get to me and my crew guys with me, helping me out with the show, and, I was only doing, like, a 15-minute spot and stuff, and so it was easy to get in and out, but we hit the green rooms. We're like, we're starving at this point, and it was like they had, like, white bread with butterfly hot dogs on it, and that was it. And we were like, this guy's, like, supposedly a prince, and he's spending all his money, and we're in the green room getting, like, cold Oscar Mayer's, like, butterfly on, like,
yeah,
white
that is
bread.
odd, yeah.
So we were like, let's just go to, like, Jack in the Box or something.
Exactly.
This is stupid. But yeah, that was probably the weirdest, like, private party thing I've ever done. So you get everything, man. You run into all sorts of weird stuff.
So what's your next goal? What's the next big ambition project that you want to work on?
Well, I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but, like, I kind of just ride the wave. I've already done more than I thought I ever would. Because not just magic, but entertainment or professional career stuff in any capacity. I mean, you were mentioning even, like, the MMA fighters, wrestlers, all that stuff. To have a career in any kind of entertainment is difficult, man. It's super hard. I mean, in some ways it's easier now because of social media. You can get out there, but it's as quick as you get out there, you can just as quickly get forgotten too. So it's like a double-edged sword, right? And so I'm just riding the wave. I'm just happy to be gigging, and as long as people like it and want to come see what I do, I'm happy with that. I'm on tour with the Illusionist right now, but I'm done with them in May. It's been a good ride, and I've been thankful for all the opportunities. But I'm gonna start going solo stuff. on the scene that I'm usually in, and just keep riding any waves that come.
Have you ever been approached by like Netflix or Showtime or HBO to do your own show?
No, I haven't. No, I mean, you're not the first person that's asked me that, and I have not. I mean, like, cause I've just been exclusive to the Illusionist for so long, because we tour so much. That's a hard thing to work on, and I never really thought of it. I don't know if I translate to TV that well. That concept is, I don't know anything about that stuff, so it's a little overwhelming, to think about at times even, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it if I got asked to do it,
Last question. When the Illusionist started, there was originally 7 cast members, and it's changed up a little bit?
Yeah, there's 7 from all over the world. They've rotated and changed casts. I'm one of the few that's still original. It's been in every version, up until this point. Every version of the main show, The Illusionist, right? We've rotated and been through a couple different guys, a couple different styles, because everybody kind of has their own style, and so that's been an adventure as well. It's kind of like it's its own weird boy band, kind of, in a way.
I know what you mean. Yeah, when I saw the current cast, it did kind of make me wonder, has there ever been a situation where, like, say, one of your illusions is too similar to one of theirs, or vice versa?
No. I mean, everything we all do is so different. I mean, I don't know if that's been an issue with any of the other guys, but as far as I'm concerned, and I've gone and been a part of it, no, it's been pretty clear. What I do isn't really what anybody else in the sort of business does in this way. So I'm sort of protected, I guess, in that sense.
Excellent. Well, I greatly appreciate your time, Dan.
Yeah, man. Thanks for chatting.